Hi, I'm Mark. I'm going to be teaching you a yoga treat today. And it's the jump back from the Marichiasana series in the primary series. So this is actually a transition, it's a jump back. It just allows, in the context of say a flow class or when you're doing the primary series, it allows you to just kind of keep the flow a little bit more as it's just a smoother transition into the vinyasa. I'm Canadian by birth. I've been in Bangkok for just under 5 years. Grew up outside of Toronto, moved to Montreal for school, lived overseas a little bit. I used to be a big party boy. I used to, go out quite a bit, and that's what my social circle was. And as I started to, dive into yoga, this whole other world and culture and social network popped up, and I didn't expect that. I just thought yoga was, something you did for yourself, and it was very healthy, and Madonna did it. It was absolutely a perfect, seamless transition. That's a good... I always feel the most confident in my classes that have a really good flow to it, because I really like the concept of flow, linking the breath to the movement and just continuous movement. I also like when I see my students change a lot from the beginning to the end. I usually focus around some sort of point or some sort of pinnacle pose, very typical for Ashtanga Vinyasa. And when I see the students make that transition into, whatever we were working on, and they start using it, then it's really quite, I kind of consider that a good class. A lot of people just join yoga for, because they're curious. It's quite popular. But once you get past that curious state and it actually kind of takes hold a little bit, I think people are trying to transform on some level. Maybe it's transform their bodies, maybe it's something a lot more deeper, much more spiritual. I would say if you're at the curious point, now's a really good time to just go out and try everything. There's so many different types of yoga, and I'm not just talking yoga asana or different types of classes. There's so much to yoga. Go out, try as many different classes as you can, read as many books as you want, find teachers that you like, find teachers that you don't necessarily gel with, because it's all a learning process. This is a really great time, enjoy it, and just watch as it takes over your life. Teaching at Yoga Elements is great. The students are open, and they just, anything that you bring to them, they're willing to try. Advanced practitioners will probably get everything that they want. It's also exceptional for beginners, especially with the Elements class. You have the opportunity to work in a strictly beginner context, which is a bit of a rarity sometimes. Spent 2 weeks studying at the Batavi Joy Shala in Mysore, and you know how you're not supposed to watch the other practitioners around you? Well, I did a little bit, and there was this girl next to me. Her practice was beautiful, 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 and she went through the Marichiasana sequence, and I took a little peek over, and I learned this transition, and it's been flawless. So here's your yoga treat. The more typical transition is from Marichiasana here to plant the hands and then come through the vinyasa like this. Now, this transition, however, is a little bit more fluid. And you take your Marichiasana, and this works for any of the Marichiasanas. So you take your Marichiasanas 5 breaths, and then plant the hands. Now, the trick to this is pressure from the shin into the upper arm. So ideally, when you take your Marichiasana, you're not binding around here. You want to get it right into the armpit. That way you have a really good ledge with which to push your shin bone into the upper arm. So take an inhale, get excited. Exhale, pull up, because you really need to suck the tummy in to get there. If you're doing it in Marichiasana B, that's a little bit more of a kick. Or from the twists, you have to reach around. But from Marichiasana B, the only difference is the foot's in half lotus. I like a little swing forward to get the momentum. Again, pressure through the shin into the upper arm. Inhale. A hoof through the stomach. If I didn't get out of my pants, that would be perfect. And roll through your vinyasa. Vinyasa tends to increase energy. It's sort of like a train. As you keep the vinyasa, you keep the energy flowing. The vinyasa aspect uses a lot of inhale, and it brings a lot of prana and energy into the body. And if done correctly, it invigorates rather than tires. Go out dancing tonight, my love, and go home with someone. And if the love doesn't last beyond the morning, then know I love you. No matter how much life throws at you, no matter how crazy it gets, there's always love out there, and it's always available. And if it's not through other people, it's always available within yourself.